Hello there everybody and welcome to a new video for Age of Wonders 4. In this one I got the 10 biggest changes for the Wyvern update. We have had a lot of changes with this one. Not only did we receive the Dragon Dawn DLC, we have also had our share of bug fixes, nerfs, and buffs that I just want to get on over with because, you know, it is really always worth knowing what still works and what doesn't. So let's get started with number one. We got a bit of new toys to play with. For one, we got a new society trait called Artifact Hoarders, which allows us to gain mana for artifacts that are just lying around in the artifact hoard. This is a complementary one that is suiting well for the dragon rulers, but it can be used for many other methods and builds that you want to go for. And the other thing we got is a body trait called Poisonous. I have it not available here on that screen right now, but it simply explained some blight resistance and a 30% chance of the attacker to get poisoned when they attack your units. So we got some new tools to play around here, but nothing too tremendous here. Another neat thing that has been changed now, number two, is that digging out the underground areas can now yield resources. So this is a start for, well, buffing the underground areas. I don't know why they do that, but, well, probably they were underpowered as of yet. So once you have excavation, you can now go underground and find various things when you're digging out the walls. This makes the whole subterranean gameplay a little bit more exciting. So number three, let's get on over to one of the bigger things that have changed, balancing and nerf-wise. So critical hit chance does no longer apply to your hit chance. So probably this has been a thing you never knew about, but basically, quickly explained, when you're shooting with a physical ranged attack, there's a accuracy rating, also for the magic guys. If your critical hit rating was higher than your accuracy for some reason, for example, you had just a 10% chance to hit the enemy, but a 50% critical hit chance. As a matter of fact, your hit chance was 50%, because if you crit, you hit. That has been changed. Your critical hit chance is now capped to your accuracy. That means if you have 10% chance to hit, you have 10% chance to hit critically, and that's it. So that little exploit has been fixed. Luckily, I didn't like it, because this meant that critical hit was always better than accuracy, and that just felt outright wrong. I'm glad this has been fixed. So, number four, battlefield summons have been heavily nerfed. So, all those spells that bring something that expires over the course of the fight are now lasting only 3 turns. So when let's go for this one, when we look at these, we will now see the addition lasts 3 turns on practically everyone. Zombies have been changed to decay now. They suffer damage instead of just running out of juice after 3 turns, and this has been applied to practically all the battlefield summons. A really necessary change, because before that, yeah, you know, it was just like the ability to summon endlessly staying reinforcements. No strategy required, because it was a no-brainer to just slap these out on the battlefield from turn 1. So what this does now, well, the summons are still there. You just need to work with them a little bit more smartly, and let's see how that goes. I think it was a very necessary move, because all those tome skills that summon stuff and all those hero skills, the signature skills especially, that summon stuff, were tremendously overpowered. And, you know, here most people I knew of were always trying to pick up on those hero skills, something that summons something. This upgrades all the other things while maintaining, well, summons aren't uninteresting. You just need to have the proper timing now. Good. So, number 5, the horses. The horses have been changed. So, we have now different horses for different troops. We have now more troops that can receive horses, and horses have been somewhat nerfed. I know I'm using the word horses a bit often now, but I'll stop from here. So, You have only 5 HP for your cavalry. The Nightmare mounts have now a new add-on. They got buffed. They give your units the Vicious Killer trait, which doubles the morale penalty when they kill something. So this is pretty cool. Not only are the Nightmare mounts now more powerful, also you have way more mounted units than before. That's the reason why they only give 5 HP at that point. So who has received mounts? The tier 1 Barbarian Warriors did, the tier 1 Dark Archers did, the tier 2 Feudal Shield units, the tier 1 High Culture Shield units, the tier 1 Industrious Archers, and the tier 2 Mystic Shield guys, and on top of that, Glade Runners, White Witches, and Evokers out of the Tome units as well. On top of this, also, the Hound Masters will also have the ability to gain the exotic mounts, so do the Wild Speakers. So all the units that had horses before, keep them, but in a grand total, you will see a lot more mounted units now, and they gain the benefits of being faster, being a little bit more brawny, but also being vulnerable against spear units. So all in all, well, I think this change will make cavalry builds even more interesting than they already were, and I can't wait to try it out, what this means to the spider mounts. So, number 6, city stability for the Dark Culture. So there has been an interesting shift for the buildings of the Dark Culture. So in the past, the buildings for these guys, well, let's go on over here. Here, I built them already. They yielded negative city stability. Here, the interrogation dungeon now does yield positive city stability. So both of these buildings that were originally yielding negative stability are now positive stability. Here, the Ritual Mausoleum, also positive. So Dark Culture is now way better and reaping the benefits of a high city stability than before. They even became to a major player because the bonuses they got are really big. So this could change your Dark playstyle to a more utopian way if you'd like to try it out. I certainly see a big chance in that. So, number 7, Empire Development Skills got costier. Damn, the prices have been increased severely. Basically, all those skills you knew before, add 50 Imperium on top of that. They all got on an average, every skill got 50 Imperium more costly. This change makes your early game choices weigh much more, and it makes the increase of Imperium income much more important as well. And it makes also the impact of an unjustified war reducing your Imperium income even more severe. All in all, yeah, I think these were necessary changes because it was way too easy to just have all these things unlocked at a certain point, especially the tier 1 things were way too easy to snatch. Also worth mentioning, the thresholds have been increased as well. So most tier 1 skills now need 50% more affinity skills, affinity points to get unlocked. So it ain't as easy anymore to get those tier 1 skills that dirty cheap. So a necessary evil, I'd say, and it goes right into number 8. I want to talk about the changes that have been made and the skills themselves. At least the major things. There's been a lot of changes, and I highly recommend you to check out the patch notes as well. But the major changes. So for one, knowledge extraction got nerfed. So you only gain now 150 knowledge per hero. The hero's level doesn't have any influence here anymore. It was necessary because milking level 7 heroes at your local free city was just quite broken. This way you still can pull off these shenanigans if you want to, but it got less effective than before. So also we have some buffs here in the Shadow Avenue. The All-Seeing trait has now 15 knowledge instead of 10. It's pretty fitting since it has become more costly. And what also has been changed, Death Magic is now way higher in the ranking, but it now gives 10 combat casting points, making it even double as effective as before. This one is now a really powerful thing that can fuel your entire combat casting needs if you have enough Shadow Affinity to roam around with it. Another big change here is on the Materium side. For one, Materium skills got all shuffled up and are now different, but the most important things I personally felt were Arcane Artisans gave you originally draft, now mines gain grand mana. So Materium players, I think this is really, really interesting and massive. And the other thing here, military engineering now gives your outposts no longer the palisade walls, but the work camp. And this is a really massive change in that skill, because that means outposts of the Materium are now way more effective. You can't even combine that with the barbarians' spamminess of outposts, and things get quite interesting, I think. On the nature side, we have one really important thing to say. The wild expansion here has been gutted insofar as it has a way lower chance to give you a high tier unit. But I was happily surprised to see that there is still a 20% chance of gaining a higher tier animal unit when you use the skill, so it hasn't been entirely destroyed. So there are several other changes in between that I didn't feel too impactful. Maybe I missed something. It's been a long list, so forgive me if this sector is a little bit incomplete, and drop me a comment down below adding in the things that I missed. So number 9. Let's leave this sector and go over to what has changed for the Necromancy. Necromancy has been overhauled quite massively with this patch. So we have for now a new spell in the Tome of Souls. We have no longer the Soulbind Army spell, but instead we gain Soul Collection, which is just a world spell that kicks off your soul income for 30 gold per turn. It feels a bit like Band-Aid, but it surely is the Band-Aid that you need, and it's really, really powerful in that regard. Soulfire doesn't cost souls anymore to cast, so this spell is way more versatile and usable now. I really appreciate that, because before that I really didn't use it too much. And on the other side, here in the Tome of Necromancy, we have a new unit, the Corrupt Soul, which is very powerful on the morale drain department, can even outright insta-kill low morale units, and the Necromancer now does cost way less souls to hire. So not only do we have a higher income of souls, we now also have a way higher, a way lower cost. Also, Soul Harvest now scales off of the enemy's tier harder, so you also will gain more souls out of the battles, if I read that correctly. So as the last chance change that's worth mentioning here, Whiteborn's costs have been severely reduced. It only costs you now 50% of the old soul cost, so you only have to pay 100 souls. These changes make Necromancy way more viable. And finally, they feel like the swarmy bunch they were supposed to be, because now you can actually afford to crank out lots of skeletons and bone golems without breaking a sweat in terms of soul economy. Really good changes. I still feel like they could use a little bit more, especially the tier 4 tomes still feels, I don't know, not like the Necromancer fantasy that I had, but we are really on a good way here. And number 10, the Living Vine spell. Alright, I think it is a little bit weird of me to just put an entire point for that, but it is so important to note. With the current patch, this spell, from my experience, is entirely useless now. I haven't managed to get it to any use whatsoever. It was way too powerful before, and now I think it's almost worth skipping it, because I haven't seen these things immobilize anything ever. I mean, okay, it's only a 30% chance, but the problem is they only last one turn, and currently it looks like a bug. You summon them, the enemy gets to act, and they disappear immediately and don't do anything. I am not sure if this is working as intended and if there will be a hotfix, but currently while I'm recording this, one day after the release, this spell doesn't work at all anymore. So as soon as it gets fixed, please drop me a comment, but right now, avoid it. It's so broken bad right now that I dedicated an entire point of this video for it. So yeah, I'm pretty sure there were more changes that we could talk about here, but I really tried to compact compactify it to the most important things. Feel free to drop me some comments down below about things that I might have forgotten and you think other people should totally know. And of course, if you want to know it all, I have put the link to the patch notes down there in the description box. So, thanks for watching this video, have a good one, and see you next time.